Hey guys, Mr. Yisley here. So we are beginning chapter 2b, which is really just the second half of chapter 2 in your books, but we're going to call it chapter 2b, and it's all about solving linear inequalities. And so as you probably learned from your vocabulary, linear inequality, or an inequality is a mathematical sentence that compares expressions. We talked about these earlier in the year. This is like 3 is greater than 2, or 2 is less than 3. It can also be greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. So it's got those symbols in between the numbers. Well, linear inequality is just an extension of what we learned about linear equations. And so linear inequalities are going to look really similar. They're going to have variables in it. Those variables are going to be multiplied and added, and different things happening with them. And then they're all going to be greater than or less than or greater than or equal to some number. So they're going to look really similar, but instead of an equal sign, you're going to have an inequality symbol, and we're going to talk about how to solve those eventually. But in lesson number 1, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about writing these linear inequalities, and we're specifically when they give it to us in an English sentence and how we translate it and we get it into a mathematical inequality. So really 4 steps within this. And you've heard these before, but we want to go over them again and again to ingrain it in our memories. So step 1, we always want to read the problem. So we want to go ahead and make sure we read the problem first. Step 2, we want to identify keywords and the inequality symbol. Now, with the inequality symbol, they could say a few things. A lot of times they're just going to say simple things like it's greater than, or less than or equal to. But sometimes they might use words like at least or at most, and we've talked about these in class, and those are where we have to do a little bit of thinking, and we have to figure out, all right, what's going on, or what does that actually mean? Third step is we need to choose a variable if needed. Sometimes they give us the variable, or sometimes we need to choose one. As we've talked about, X is always a really simple one to use. And then the final thing we want to do, step 4, is we want to actually write the inequality. So we want to go ahead and write that inequality out in a mathematical sentence. So let's take a look at 3 examples here. We've got example A, which says a number W minus 3.5 is less than or equal to negative 2. So step 1, read the problem. I did that. Step 2, I want to identify keywords and the inequality symbol if I can. So first keyword when I read that is a number W. Right there is my variable. So it's already giving me my variable. So step 3 is already kind of taken care of for me. After a number W, I see a word in there that seems really important, and that is minus. Now, if you remember about minus is a form of subtraction. Oops, excuse me, sorry for moving that. So when we look at that, I know that this means subtraction. Then I see another number. It says number W minus 3.5. So there's another important part of it, all right? And then it says is less than or equal to. Now, less than or equal to, that is my inequality symbol. They've made that obvious. And some of you are pretty good about identifying those when we worked on the simpler ones. So less than or equal to, that's pretty straightforward. It's saying less than, which means it's opening away from everything on that side. Less than, or equal to. So I know that it also has that portion of an equals to sign. And then the last part that I see that's really important is what it is less than or equal to, which is the number negative 2. All right, so I've identified all the keywords and the inequality symbol. I don't need to choose a variable in step 3 because they actually gave me my variable of W. And so last thing I want to do is I want to go in and I want to write this inequality in the form of a mathematical inequality. So I'm going to look down the line, make sure everything's in line, and I'm going to write it out. So a number W, there we go, minus, so there's a subtraction symbol, 3.5 is less than or equal to, so there's my inequality symbol, negative 2. So plan written out, W minus 3.5 is less than or equal to negative 2. And I figured out everything that I needed. All right, well, let's take a look at example B. If you think you can do that one on your own, I'd encourage you to try it and then check your answer with mine. So example B says 3 is less than a number n plus 5. So step 1, read the problem. That is done. Step 2, identify the keywords and the inequality symbol. So let's start at the very beginning. First keyword I see is 3. All right, 3. And that's a number, so I'm going to go ahead and write that out to remind myself that this means the actual number 3. Then I see is. Is a very good indicator that you're about to have your inequality symbol. All right, if we took out the inequality symbol, is would mean equals to, but it doesn't in this case. It's just an indicator that, hey, your inequality symbol is coming up. As you saw in example A, same thing. 3.5 is, and then there was our inequality symbol. Same thing right here. 3 is less than. All right, less than. So there's my inequality symbol. And with less than, I know that that means that the arrow, or not really an arrow, but the symbol is going to open away from it. It's going to point towards the 3, but it's going to open away from it, because opening away from it means the other side is greater. All right, so then it says is less than. Then we've got a next piece of key information, which is a number, and they're calling that number in. So there is my variable right there, and I'm just going to go ahead and write that above here. All right. And then a next keyword, plus. Well, plus is a mathematical operation, and that is the operation of addition. So I should have a plus sign. Right? And then last piece of key information is the number itself that they gave me that's being added, which is 5. All right, well, step 3 was choose a variable if needed, but they gave us the variable of in, so we should be able to go in and actually write this inequality out now. So if I start here on the left and go from left to right, I have 3 is less than in plus 5. So if I go back, make sure that makes sense. 3 is less than in plus 5. 3 is less than a number in plus 5. So it makes sense. All right, well, I'd encourage you to pause the video here and then try example C on your own. After you finished it, then unpause and check your answer with mine. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit to create a little more room on the screen, right? And we're going to go through it. So step 1, read the problem. So example C says 0 is greater than or equal to twice a number plus 1. All right, step 1 is done. So step 2, we need to go in and identify keywords and the inequality symbol. So first keyword I see is 0. That is a number. So I'm going to write that number out. Is again was an indicator that there should be an inequality symbol coming up. So then, of course, I do see one that follows. It says greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. So it's one of those ones with 2 portions of it. So greater than means it's opening towards the 0, and equal to means it has a portion of an equal sign. So greater than or equal to. Now, next piece of key information I see is that word twice. Now, twice, if we recall back to what we learned in previous chapter, twice means 2 times. Because if I had 5 pens, and then you said you have twice as many, you would say 5 times 2 to figure out that you have 10 pens. So twice means 2 times. Then it says a number, all right? So there is a variable right there. They don't actually give me a variable on this one, so I need to actually choose that. So as a part of step 2, I'm going to add in step 3, which is choose a variable, and I'm going to call that x. Right? Then the next piece of key information I see is the word plus. Again, that's the operation of addition, so I'm going to have a plus sign. And then the last piece of key information is what they're adding, which is the number 1. All right. Well, we've done step 3 already. We chose a variable. We called it x. We've identified all the pieces of key information as well as the inequality symbol. So last step, step 4, we need to actually write the inequality. So moving from left to right, I see 0 is greater than or equal to 2 times x, or we can write that as 2x plus the number 1. So I ended up with 0 is greater than or equal to 2x plus 1. Well, 2x is the same as 2 times x, or twice x, plus 1. So that is correct. All right, well, if you have any additional questions, please let me know, but that should be a good start to get you going on writing inequalities. Again, if you've got questions, make sure to let me know and ask them. Otherwise, you should have what you need to continue on to lesson number 2.